Today's guest on 2020 Vision is Nickia Pierce. She is the owner and operator of Lemons to Lavender LLC. Her business was started in September of 2015, and she assists people in early recovery to strengthen relationships with self, loved ones, and the community to support long-term remission from the disease of addiction. During today's conversation, we go into the importance of seeing people as individuals, as well as her process in helping people recover from addiction. So how has your background shaped the leader that you've become?
How has my background shaped the leader that I've become? I mean, I think it's everything, right? So I grew up in the inner city. By every statistic, I was an at-risk youth. I lived on Enfield Street in Hartford, Connecticut. I lived on Garden Street in Hartford, Connecticut. And during that time, I called it like the Wild Wild West of the 80s. You know, there was just like the war on drugs, the war on crime. It was everywhere. I remember leaving school and people telling us to run because something was about to happen. And that teaches you that you always have to be prepared to survive. Like, no matter what comes your way, you have to be ready for things that you don't see coming, for things that you don't understand why they're coming. So I think that's made me really innovative. I don't need to know the why to figure out a resolution or solution to something. And if I don't know the why, it's easy for me to figure it out. It's easy for me to go look for it, research it, find it, understand it, and be willing to change according to the new information. So my ability to survive through anything, I think, makes it easy for me to teach other people how to do it, and to do it without being nasty, to do it with a smile on your face. Like, we all have our own individual struggles. We all have our own individual fears, and somehow we have to survive them and live through the day. So what if we didn't just focus on living through the day or surviving the day, but allowed ourselves to actually enjoy the day despite everything that you're going through? And I think that's what prepared me the most to be a leader, on top of the personalities that were in my life, to teach me not only how to lead, but how to follow. A good leader understands that in order to lead, you need to be able to follow the very people that you lead. You know, diversity in thought, diversity in action, that's where true innovation comes from. Having the ability to get to know people and allow them to get to know me without having the same system of thought, without having the same system of action, but understanding that we all work well within our own lane. And that's what makes us work well as a people. And I think that's what makes me work well as a leader. You don't have to think like me. You don't have to be like me for us to work together towards a common either goal or solution. So I think that in all is what has molded me into a positive leader. Whether that be strong, because I have my own weaknesses and I'm okay with that. But I think it's made me a strong leader, a willing leader, and a teacher in many ways.
Growing up, did you have any role models or maybe like a counsel you would lean on?
So I've had a lot. I can say that my positive leaders were much more influential over my life over the negative ones. But my grandmother, she was the one who really, really did that last time too, huh? You know, she was the one who was like, well, whoever you are, just be that, you know, but you have to enjoy it. So she taught me to read it, If you don't know what something is, it's somewhere in a book. Um, get to know people. Understand that you won't be who they are, but be yourself when you're amongst other people. And there's a freedom in that. Um, and she taught me to basically get through anything. It's funny because her and my grandfather, they literally argued every single day. I swear they argued right before dinner every single day. And they would be the cutest little arguments, and then they'd have dinner, and it was like no argument even took place. And just understanding and being able to see that just because I don't agree with somebody on something doesn't mean that we as a relationship end. We as a friendship, we as a therapist, a counselor relationship, it doesn't end because we don't agree on something. Actually, that has the opportunity to make our understanding of each other stronger, our communication with each other better, and therefore have a stronger and more healthy relationship that's surrounded by communication and respect. I would also say my mother, because she was super, she's just very concrete. Like, there's really no guessing with her. She'll throw you a fish fry or something to raise money for you, and she can cuss you out the very next minute about something you did. And just being able to be vocal. Like, she was the woman in my life that no matter what happens, no matter what's going on, she's going to say what she has to say about it. A lot of times I'm the only black woman in the room. And whether that's amongst a room of non-black women, black men, or a diverse group, when you're the only black woman in the room who's willing to speak up, that automatically makes you a target. So it's almost like I'm used to being a target. It's normal for me. And sometimes it's a struggle. But because of what I saw in my mother, just allowing myself to continue to be who I am and to be vocal despite the difficulties that comes along with that. And thirdly, but most importantly, I would say my brother. My brother Kiwan was my father the bulk of my life. He's only 6 years older than me, so I'm 6, he's 12, and he's like dad. Like, he's like my father. He's like, did you eat? Is your homework done? Let me make sure it's right. And he had his individual struggles in the process. He raised a family young. He got married before I did. He had some trip-ups with the law. And through all of that, he maintained his same personality. Funny, friendly, supportive. I remember I would come home crying from college because I couldn't do my math homework. And he would take the book and some paper in the bathroom and just like do my homework on the toilet. Now, he has a high school diploma that he got in prison and had never been to college. And here I am, my sophomore year, coming home so my brother could teach me how to do math. But he would do it, and then he would come out and he would teach me how he did it. I would literally leave school and come home for my brother to teach me math. And it was like the only way I could understand it. And he did that for me in the middle of his running. He would stop to come help me with my homework. I think there's a power in that because he had his own children to help with their stuff. And he still found the time to just be whatever I needed whenever I needed it. And half the time I didn't even know what he was going through, but he found the time to do that for me. And he would always do it with good energy, a laugh, a smile on his face, like he was honored to do it. So I never felt like I was a burden. And I think that's what also maybe makes me a strong leader or a happy business owner, because it makes me feel good. I give, I support from a place of love. It's not a burden for me. It's not hard for me to support you through the difficult things that you go through. It's just like who I am. And I think I got that from my brother.
So, what was the inspiration behind you starting your business?
So I would have to say God, because this was like the one thing I didn't want to do. I remember I was a kid, and there was a book drive on Enfield Street. They took over like a house, and they did this amazing book drive, and my mom was like, okay, you could take 1 or 2 books. And I was in there like, Mom, this is a room full of books. I can only have 1 or 2. And she's explaining to me that I have to leave enough for the other children. And this woman comes up to me, and she looked like me, like she had the brown skin, she had thick hair, and she looked really professional. And she came over with a plastic bag. And she was like, you could fill up this whole bag with books. And if you want another bag, you can have another bag. And I was like, really? Oh my God. She was like Superwoman to me. Like, she's giving me all these free books. And so I just go shopping, and I'm just like, well, what do you do? Because at the time I didn't realize that they collected all these books to give back to the community. I thought she had arranged for all these books to be distributed to children in the community. So she said that she was a social worker. And I was like, I am going to be a social worker when I grow up. And in college, I dibbled and dabbled with like accounting and economics because I'm pretty good with numbers. And then I ended up going back into psychology, and eventually went into social work, clinical social work. So while I worked at DCF, I was like, yes, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to help save families. I'm going to battle the system. I am going to work for the better of my community. And while I was working there, we found that I did really well with people who were suffering from substance use, just getting them to talk to me, getting them to tell me what was truly going on. And then advocating for them. We found I did really well with adolescents. So eventually, all of my cases were parents with substance use issues that had children with substance use issues, and so on and so forth. So I said, well, maybe I'll just go back to school and see why I'm good at this. Like, what is it that I'm doing that's working to at least help people tell me exactly what they need. And I started the DART program at Manchester Community College, and began to learn specifically about treating people suffering from substance use disorders. How to work with someone suffering from alcohol is very different than working with someone who's suffering from cocaine use disorder. With alcohol use disorder, confronting them is never helpful. It's allowing them the space to vocally tell me their experience. Agencies often kind of talk at you, or they talk over your head. They don't understand your lingo and your language. And because I grew up with the lingo, I grew up with the language, it's maybe easier for me to understand, but also because my empathetic nature. I don't have to agree with you to understand your experience and how it impacts you. And then to help you come up with a plan so that you're not feeling the side effects of negative behaviors, addictive behaviors anymore. So that your life can kind of get the best of you, so to speak. And I just kind of fell in love with the field. So as I went through my Master's of Social Work program, I gained the knowledge that the licensed clinical social workers would gain. I kind of tailored my educational career around understanding mental illness as well as addiction as a mental illness, and began developing my outside training to support having a specialty in addiction counseling, which I really think we should call recovery counseling, because I'm not teaching you to be an addict. I'm not encouraging you to be addicted to anything. I'm encouraging you to understand that in your recovery, you can have a wonderful, beautiful experience. You can have a beautiful experience of the entire recovery process. It doesn't have to be, I go to a program, I go home to a family who doesn't understand addiction. Well, what if you could come out of a program and go home to a family that understands the recovery process, and it becomes something that you learn together, so that you are, as a family unit, exposing yourself to the most positive sides of not only your individual self, but your family self. And I forgot the question. Can you repeat the question? I just want to make sure that
I think that was
answered it
great.
well.
Unless you wanted to go further into it, I really did want to know, like, what are some of your keys to success as a business leader?
So one, I would say that I'm innovative. I see gaps in services quickly. I see gaps in communication quickly. And that kind of gives me like that wiggle room to just kind of slide in there and fill the gap. I allow myself to be who I am and not to change who I am to welcome clients into my space. And by giving myself to breathe the freedom to be whoever I am, wherever I am, that allows other people to be whoever they are in my presence also. Being a therapist, I think the second key to success is understanding the power I have as a therapist. People trust me with the way they think about how they feel, the way they feel about their behavior, and how all three things interact with each other. They trust me with that. They trust me with things that they've never told their parents, that they've never told their best friend. And that puts me in a very powerful position in their lives. And I give that power right back to them and make sure that in our sessions, they always know the power is yours. You're just allowing me to share in your journey. You're allowing me to be your cheerleader through your journey. And then I don't take your journey home with me in the evening. I take my journey home with me in the evening. And hopefully when you leave my space, you leave feeling a bit lighter, a little more happy. In my sessions, we cry all the time. I keep boxes of tissues, but we have so much fun. We laugh, we act silly, we play games, we do art. We channel whatever your best self is. And whoever your best self feels like to you, that's what's most important in a therapeutic session. We can't build and kind of focus on your shortcomings. That's not what therapy is. Therapy is exposing the better side of yourself to yourself and utilizing that as a foundation to then fight whatever flaws you're fighting within yourself. Change whatever characteristics you're working hard to change within yourself. But we don't start with the change. We start with building the foundation so that you realize whatever you've been through, you're a better person for it. And I would say my third key to success is my ability to follow. Everyone around me, I learn from. I learn from everyone, everything, just giving myself time. Sometimes when I get home, I just sit in the car for a few minutes and enjoy whatever happened that day, or cry about whatever happened that day, and not force myself out of the emotion, not force myself into knowing the answer right away, and being able to call on someone else and saying, hey, I need help. I don't know how to bust through this wall. I'm getting confused. I see problems and I don't know which one I should attack first. Just because I'm a licensed alcohol and drug counselor and I have a master's of social work and I have a master's in fine arts and I'm a single mom and I'm all those superhero things that black women are expected to be. I work and I'm a business owner and I make it all and I know how to package it all and make it look pretty. So just because I'm that doesn't mean that I don't have my struggles also.
What do you think is it that makes your business so unique?
So my business does not require people to go into groups. There's two things that Lemons to Lavender does not require. I don't do urine tests. I don't do breathalyzers. This is not an opportunity to punish you or have proof that you are not using. This is an opportunity for you to look at recovery in another way. And a lot of people don't know that your insurance covers not only your counseling, but your family's counseling too. If you have someone who is a good friend of yours, a loved one, a family member, or everyone who lives in your household, if you are in counseling, you can bring them in and help them not only understand you better, but give yourself the opportunity to understand them better. You know, when people come out of a recovery program, or they first begin the recovery process and say, you know what, I'm not comfortable, I'm done with this, I'm gonna try quitting like right now. People don't understand that the family at home has built their whole life around being able to manage your addiction. And then you have to now figure out, well, what do they need from you? And they have to adjust to the new you, the new sober you. Initially, your nerves are shot. You're constantly distraught. And your brain has to literally learn again to make the neurotransmitters necessary for you to feel well, for you to have a feeling of well-being, joy, excitement. So initially, excitement feels in the body just like a nervous anxiety, a fear. You know, teaching each other that and having that experience together, and that learning experience together in the therapeutic session, it's really a beautiful complement to the family dynamic as you're adjusting to any recovery from any substance use disorder, because the symptoms don't necessarily go away. You just learn to manage them more effectively. What's the question again?
What makes your business unique? Next one.
Say that again?
What makes your business unique?
Oh, okay. So the second thing that I don't require of my clients is I don't require you to do groups. I offer groups. I have focus groups, task groups every quarter. But you don't have to participate in group counseling. Many people with an anxiety disorder struggle with starting groups. It's very difficult. It's difficult for an introvert to just jump into a group setting. So if you are involved in groups elsewhere, let's say, I can provide you individual treatment as you go through that process, just to deal with that process. Individual counseling means the focus is on you within whatever system you're functioning in. That could be your family system, that could be your personal physical space, your social spiritual space. It allows me to just focus on who you are, who you're trying to be, and help you get there without having to also focus on whatever is going on with everyone else in the room. If you were to bring your family in for sessions, you would have separate individual sessions to process whatever it is that you need to process. So that's what makes my business unique. This is not a program where you get a certificate like, yay, I'm done, I can go home now and be great and never use drugs again, never have a symptom of bipolar disorder, never have a symptom of PTSD. That's not what this is. This is you and your family get to figure out how to have fun, how to love all over each other despite everything you went through. It's about bringing the joy and the things that work over the barrier of pain and allow that to be the guide instead of it being stuck behind the pain and having pain be the guide throughout the rest of your life. You can really arrest the pain and put it in a position where the only way that it feeds you is that it feeds your motivation, it feeds your ambition, it feeds your quality of life, not taking from it. Voids, for example, are something that we're constantly trying to fill. Like, our culture has taught us, if you have a void, fill it. You don't need to fill it. You can just acknowledge that the void is there. You can acknowledge that it hurts. You can say, you know what, I don't want to fill it with anything right now. I just want to sit and wait and see what my next step is going to be. We don't have to hop from emotion to emotion. We don't have to say, okay, well, I'm not using drugs, so I'm going to fill it with sex. And I'm not having sex, so I'm going to fill it with school. You know, we don't have to constantly replace one addiction for the other. We can just allow ourselves to enjoy everything that we enjoy. The key is that you spend the time to enjoy it. So my business focuses on putting the fun back into the process and remembering to give yourself love and light as you transition.
What advice would you have for somebody looking to start in the field that you work in now?
Advice for people wanting to jump in the field. Take care of your own internal stuff. If you are curt with people, you need to know that you're curt with people. If you're good or bad at validating people's thoughts, feelings, experiences, then know that about yourself. Have your own therapist. You know, I don't know that clients know that therapists have their own therapist. We have our own clinical supervisors that help us keep ourselves in check so that we are bringing forward our best selves to your clinical session. You know, making sure that our clinical session is about you and what you need. That whatever my stuff isn't leaking over into your session in a way that could be harmful to you. So that your session doesn't become about me and how I've lived my life, but about you and how you want to live your life. So getting a therapist is essential. Even if you're just thinking about going into the field. I also feel like therapy works for people in any walk or stage of life. It's not about being crazy. It's just about getting that additional support. Also, I would say try everything. The field of social work is so vast. You know, you could have a broadcast. You could have a podcast. You could sell recovery trinkets. You could open the next big recovery center. There's so much that you could do. You could work in detox, inpatient, outpatient. You can work focusing on substance use disorders and how they affect bipolar disorder. How do they affect schizophrenia? You know, the field is so wide. I suggest you just experiment with it all. Do you work well with adolescents? Do you work better with the elderly? Find that out about yourself. How does it feel within your body when you're working with other people? Is there a specific demographic that you work well with? You know, a lot of people are not prepared to counsel black people, especially black men. Black men have been diagnosed with schizophrenia when in actuality they're suffering from depression, because depression in a black man culturally looks different than depression in men of other nationalities and ethnicities. So allow yourself to figure out what demographic you work well with and focus on that demographic. Play around in that different demographic. And when I say play around, I mean research it. Research what you should be doing. What therapeutic techniques should you use? What are the best case practices in working with not only that field or aspect of the field, but that specific demographic. And then when that person of that demographic comes in, black male, 25 years old, allow yourself to remove the statistics and allow him to educate you on who he is and what his experience is. And if he needs an understanding of normalization, sure, you can bring in the statistics. But understand that what you learn is still just a statistic. The person sitting in front of you is still a person and could have experiences and could have cultural dynamics that are outside of anything you've read in a book. Be prepared to follow your clients. You're not constantly the leader. And be willing to give power back if you are in a position of power. I think I actually more so have a piece of advice for people who aren't thinking about coming into the field just yet. If you've experienced anything painful, difficult to overcome, maybe you're like me, the nerdy girl from the hood. Maybe you're the only brown girl in the room. Maybe you're trying to figure out your girlhood versus your womanhood. Or just in a space that you don't have anything figured out, but you're experiencing things that are either difficult or something you'd rather not participate in. Remember that therapy is available. But all of that is going to make you stronger when you come out on the other side. And when you come out on the other side, my field needs you. My field needs you to go to school, get some training, figure out if you be good at helping that other person that was just like you in their own little way, and reach back to them and kind of clap them along and be like, you know what? Okay, come on. You can make it. You use your therapeutic tools to help them get through the things that may be difficult for them, but then you have this kind of emotional connection to it that allows you to be free flowing within it. So you're not forcing them into kind of like the whole of how you think of them according to what a textbook taught you. Having the textbook, having the professional training, but having the personal experiences are essential. You don't know whether you're going to be the next innovator to come up with the next best thing to help us get through it all. Just allow yourself to be open to the idea that your experiences are preparing you to help other people through their experiences in some sort of professional role. I think that's all the advice I have, at least for now.
So what's next for your business? Do you have any new plans, innovations you're looking to put on display, or?
So pre-COVID, I was doing all of these trainings, and I was ready to release those, and it's like, let's revamp that a little bit. So please look forward to workshops coming very soon. Workshops that come along with CEUs. I want to encourage people who are not licensed alcohol and drug counselors, but that are working with people suffering from alcohol and drug use disorders. I want to encourage you to engage in workshops to kind of hone your skills in a substance-specific way also. So look forward to some of the workshops coming through, including helping parents in recovery and that'll focus on how to help a parent experience the joys of parenthood in early recovery. As I mentioned before, in early recovery, your nerves are short, easily confused. It's very difficult to find joy in anything. So let's get you where you need to be so you can enjoy the joys of having children running around your house and tearing it up in a way that you're not as frustrated. but can do it from a happier place. So for now, that's all we're kind of in transition doing. I offer, Lemons to Lavender offers telehealth services, so we're totally online. You don't need to physically come in, but you're welcome to come in, as long as you're COVID symptom free. And but it can be from the comfort of your own home. You could be outside on your lawn, wherever you can get a private space to work on yourself and work on appreciating yourself and your own life better. You could just log in from there. It's a one-touch login, and then you'll see my face smiling back at you and giving you all the positive energy that I have. So I think that's it.
All right, great. Well, and definitely thank you for sitting down with me and providing us more information about what it is that you do. So where can somebody reach you if they did see this and wanted to kind of engage with your practice? So what would be some of the ways to kind of get in contact with you?
So for marketing, I'm probably one of the most horrible marketers you may ever meet. I've never been good at selling myself. So although I'm on Instagram and Facebook under Lemons to Lavender, it's not updated often, although I'll try to do better. But the best way to reach out is to call me, 860-805-0245. You can call me, you can send me a text like, hey girl, I don't know you, but I saw your little commercial online, thought I'd shoot you a text and see if you're the therapist for me. You can reach me by email at admin, ADMIN, at lemons, LEMONS, 2TO, lavender, LAVENDER.com. So that's admin at lemonstolavender.com. And of course, you can check us out at www.lemonstolavender.com. So I'm super easy to reach. I'm mobile. You can catch me online. And I look forward to meeting you at your joy.